My life was tranquil until fractures began to appear in my relationship with my wife, Lauren. Our marriage appeared solid, but our affair with a mysterious man named Ethan Cole plunged me into the abyss. What I thought was a mere infidelity turned out to be a meticulously planned identity theft and murder scheme. In a battle for life and death, I had to confront my own moral boundaries while uncovering the astonishing truth hidden behind this conspiracy. Let's formally listen to today's story of infidelity. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for your support. I, a 30-year-old woman, became engaged in March of this year to a 31-year-old man whom I had been dating for 3 years. It was pure bliss until I introduced him to my family. We went home to meet my family because it was important to him to receive their approval. I did not take it away, but I did it to make him happy. Everyone welcomed him and seemed genuinely happy for us. Before the trip ended, my oldest brother suggested a sibling camping trip in a cabin up north to bond with my fiancé, away from my parents. I was hesitant because I rarely spent this much time at home, but I eventually agreed that the trip was going well. So I let my guard down and decided to enjoy being in the mountains with my siblings. However, the day before the trip ended, everything changed. My sister and her husband were having their 17th argument of the day, and it was only 11 a.m. Her husband stormed out and she stayed there crying. I didn't deal well with other people's emotions, so I suggested a hike to clear everyone's minds. My fiancé suggested that my siblings leave so that my sister could speak freely if she needed to. I asked if he was certain and he said he'd just check some emails. While we were out early on the hike, my sister stated that she just wanted to go home. I offered to walk her back, but she said she needed to clear her mind. We continued our hike and she returned to the cabin. My brother and his wife wanted to explore after the hike, but all I wanted was to take a shower. So I went back to the cabin. Despite the fact that it was several hours later, my sister's car remained outside. I ignored it and returned inside. I heard soft moans from upstairs, followed by a familiar grunt. I went upstairs only to find my fiancé's sister together. In the worst way. Something broke inside me. I snapped a picture of what I saw, quietly grabbed my belongings and placed my ring on the counter. I left, sent the photo to the family group chat and turned off my phone. The next day I received 47 missed calls from my family and 75 plus text messages from my fiancé. Apparently, her husband received the text as he returned to the cabin. It wasn't very nice to my fiancé. Initially I felt justified in my behavior. I hated it, but I did. However, I now realized that while what they did was terrible, what I did was wrong. Sending that picture to the family chat was gross and the innocent family members did not deserve to be dragged into it. My engagement is over. I leave the family group chat and have not spoken to anyone about it since these past few months have felt incredibly empty. I just want to get past this, but I'm not sure how. Let's see what this community has to offer. First, the trash removed itself. I now feel bad about the group text. I thought it was brilliant. I'm curious how your ex arrived home if you leave him. Someone else says, I believe you were justified in sending that. No words, just proof. Someone else joins in. If they were having sex at the cabin, everyone was staying there then. To me it's no different than sending them a text with what they'd have seen if they'd arrived back together. You screwed your fiancé and her sister while staying in a cabin with your entire family. You're cotton outed by your entire family. They were basically screwing in public at that point. As it appears, there are at least 4 siblings and partners in that cabin. You don't plan a rendezvous where you'll stay with at least 8 other people, in the hopes of avoiding detection. The following comment says, don't beat yourself up sending the photo to the family. Your sister is an ex-golfer, which they deserved at the very least. You discovered what a piece of crap your ex was before marrying him. I'm not sure what you can do about your sister other than avoid contact, even at family gatherings. Consider yourself fortunate to have avoided harm. Unfortunately, it will hurt until it stops. Try to go out and date again. You'll meet someone who will only love you. Another person speaks. Although I'm sure it wasn't your proudest moment, You shouldn't be disappointed in how you felt. It was not your problem. And one more reaction, you decided to send the photo in the heat of the moment. So you received the pass. However, doing so has made it impossible for either of these horrible people to deny it or force their own distinct narrative of their betrayal. Allow time to heal. You will not always feel this way. You should not feel bad about what other people did. You took a picture because people were unlikely to believe you. I mean, how could anyone believe something so ridiculous unless they witnessed it for themselves? To be honest, you had to do what was necessary. As the commenter mentioned, you made it impossible for these people to deny it, and yes, it may have hurt some people, but this isn't your fault. It is on the people who are playing pranks on one another. What are your thoughts next? The cheater has cheated. I had an affair with someone from work. You can read the original post on my page. Long story short, I am 35 years old and have been married to my 38-year-old husband for 7 years. After 3 years of a nearly dead bedroom and a lack of affection, I began an affair with a 49-year-old male co-worker, ended it recently and was trying to figure out how and when to confess. I'd like to thank everyone who commented or DM'd me, whether it was positive or negative. I appreciate your advice and criticism. It gave me perspective on what to do, so I decided to write 2 letters to my husband, one detailed and one brief, and let him choose which one. I also felt I should do this after starting a new job, but I was thinking about doing it sooner. This is where the update turns serious. My husband's phone kept ringing last night. He was sleeping. I've never snooped through his belongings and never intended to, but a woman's name came up, so I looked. I figured it was a family member or something. It turned out to be a chick asking if she still planned to see him because he hadn't updated her. I was shocked. I went through every message. It turned out that it was a 90-year-old woman who works at a Starbucks near her house. I woke him up and inquired about it. After some back and forth, he admitted that he had been seeing her for about a year. I was speechless. Then I confessed to my affair, which began in February. He lost it. They started yelling, cussing and calling me names. I asked, "Did you forget what you just confessed to?" He replied, "I don't care," and continued yelling. I started laughing uncontrollably and he just stared at me. I was laughing until I burst into tears and screamed "Fufu" for making me beg all these years. Then I caught myself. I went for a long shower. Then I dressed. He asked if we could talk. I said yes. When I returned, I left. I went to Starbucks, ordered a drink and asked if the girl was in. She said yes and grabbed her. I asked, "So you've been sleeping with my husband?" She was speechless. I said, "I'm not mad at you. You're young, but playing that game is dangerous and not worth it. If you've ever visited my house, please never do this again." But again, "I'm not angry with you." "Okay." She said okay, with tears in her eyes. I returned home and told him what I said to her. I said I should not have yelled at you. We started talking, but he began to make excuses for why what I did was worse. I couldn't take in much of it. I just told him that our marriage is still going strong. Both you and I did terrible things, and our marriage wasn't great before all of this. I'm not mad at you. Everything makes sense. Now it's as if I finally understand why you haven't been affectionate towards me. I'm not mad. Just finished. You've obviously been done as well, and that's fine. He walked away still angry. I checked his laptop. There are videos of him with that girl, as well as another girl from 2021 and another from the end of 2019. The last 3 years make sense now. So, basically, karma is unbeatable. I deserve it. I am crushed. This was not how I expected my marriage to go. I'm so broken that I feel physically numb. But I also feel like I knew my marriage was over and should have ended it. But instead I transformed into someone I never wanted to be and did things I shouldn't have. And now, look. That's why I can't be angry with him. How could I let him try to be angry at me? It's probably his pride. I did not expect him to react correctly. This is fresh. But yes, it is over. I'm not sure what I'll do about our living situation. But it is over. I'm sad. I'm ashamed and stunned by how quickly everything's falling apart, and there's nothing I can do except improve in the future. I'll try to talk to my husband again. I just want us to be okay. The marriage is over. We both did something wrong. But I'm not hating him. We simply held on when we should have let go. I apologize for the lengthy post. I am emotional and I hope this update is clear. Whatever questions you have, I will answer them once again. Thank you now for the community's reaction. First and foremost, you are astute enough to recognize that a marriage like yours cannot be worked on. You'd simply end up hating each other. I apologize for getting to this point. If nothing else, make a promise to yourself that you will now no longer cheat. Clearly you should do the same. But, as you mentioned in your post, be a better partner to the next person you care about. Tell them about everything, including the work. I am confident you will take steps to ensure that you do not do it again. Communication is wonderful. Yop says thank you. Yes, that is the plan. We'll work on myself and get to the root of my problems. I sincerely hope he does as well. Someone else has something to say. That's rough, Hope. You were both in the wrong. But you finally got answers for the DV. He's making an effort to be even more angry at you, despite the fact that he's been treating you badly for years. Take pictures of evidence. Okay. Before he drags your name into the mud. I'm glad you confronted the girl after the op responded, yes, I have the evidence, just in case. I don't want things to get any messier. Only a simple separation. And yes, the girl is young. Hell, I was doing stupid things at 35. I needed to express to her that I wasn't angry with her. She may feel guilty later on. I could tell she did. But I also wanted her to understand that being in that situation was not worth the headache. Yes, the comments contain some truth. You must have some level of emotional maturity to recognize that it is complete. But where were you when you made the decision to cheat? Why cheat? Why not simply leave? The marriage had clearly ended before you decided to cheat. I mean, you discovered he was also cheating on you. So that point was clear. That's what come next. Motherhood is a delicate balance. In this op, I got knocked off balance. Cheated on a toddler while pregnant. What's next? Okay. Yes, the title is incorrect. This story is not sinister in any way. But it is unedited and was written in a desperate and sleep-deprived state with poor grammar. The worst possible time to find out about his infidelity. He slept with her neighbor while I was pregnant. The affair partner's husband was aware of his wife's infidelity and her response. Viola, the person she was cheating on, among others, was my husband. I found out while I was 9 months pregnant when my husband confronted him on the playground in front of all of our friends. We live in a small community, so this has been completely humiliating. I am devastated and my entire world is shattered. Our babies are at a very young and vulnerable age. I don't understand how he could do this now. I kicked him out and gave birth to our daughter a month ago. But the stress of raising 2 small children on my own, the sleep deprivation, postpartum depression, and juggling their needs while running a business as a self-employed person is taking a mental toll. He has offered to move in with me, but it appears that he's simply sweeping it under the rug and moving on. I believe he will be able to manipulate me more effectively and weasel his way back in. He favors reconciliation, as do most cheaters. And of course, he loves me and will show me who I am not. I also feel very vulnerable because I wanted to give my children a complete family. Would you accept this situation in order to receive the assistance you require during such a difficult time? I don't want any woman to have to go through this intense newborn stage alone. And I'm honest enough to admit that I can't handle it and I am drowning. I live abroad in this country, so I have no family, friends or a nanny during the day. However, this does not help me during the most chaotic hours of the night. Should one lean toward reconciliation when babies are involved? Seek advice. The community has taken some first steps. No, if you do not wish to reconcile. At the end of the day, he knew he had a toddler and a baby on the way when he cheated on a neighbor, and that did not deter him. So why should you forgive him if he didn't care about your family in the first place? Do you currently breastfeed? If you aren't, I would let him do one overnight with him, looking after them until morning at your house, until you feel more at ease with the baby being away from you. Also, perhaps one afternoon or evening per week for 3 to 5 hours, where he can take them out for a few hours on his own, wherever he is now, or some extra time with just him and the toddler, as they will have noticed the change more. That way, you can take a break without giving the impression that you are getting back together, unless you truly want to, or he has shown you that he's sorry and is doing what you asked of him. You can also get back together if you really want to, or use him until the baby is older and you can return home with more support. To whatever you need. The next piece of advice, I can imagine how devastated you must be. My heart breaks for you. I apologize. Truly, reconciliation is a gift. I believe that cheating is wrong in general, but cheating on a pregnant wife is especially cruel. Furthermore, because his affair partner had multiple partners, he was endangering your and your baby's health. Have you both? You and he took a STI test. He is not worthy of reconciliation. At least not right now. He does need assistance. However, whether it's paying for someone to stay with you at night so you can take a break, or having him come a few times a week. If you choose the latter, I would make my boundaries very clear and there would be no mention of reconciliation. For example, list of things to do not discuss in his emotions, guilt or promises, whatever. It's what you and your child need right now. You do not deserve any of this. You need and deserve his assistance, but only under your terms. You must decide what these terms are. However, I would not consider reconciliation right now, because everything is so raw and could be swept under the rug. His promises are worthless. Allow your body and mind time to heal. Before making decisions, watch his actions, not his words. Find a therapist. They really help. Sleep. Eat well, plenty of fruits and vegetables. Drink plenty of water. Listen to your favorite music for a few minutes each day. You are deserving of love and respect, and you do not deserve to be in this situation. I'm so sorry this happened to you, especially at such a vulnerable time in your life. If he wants to help with the children, you should set clear boundaries and terms. It is critical to communicate your needs clearly and concentrate on practical issues rather than emotional discussions. Check to see if there are any services in your area that can help mothers in situations similar to yours, and honestly reach out to your friends. They may come through when you need them most. Remember that you deserve to be loved, respected and supported. Here is the next story. In 2006, I went to the brokerage and investment firm's Christmas party as a +1 for my wife, Michelle or Lauren, one of their top salespeople. During the party, Lauren's co-workers, Bob Ford and her boss, Mark Henry, discussed the profitability of Miss products. Mark urged Lauren to invest in Miss, but she declined, stating that she would not recommend anything to clients if she did not invest in herself. Leon Goldberg, the top sales performer, was confident that the Miss market would continue to produce high returns. I only half listened to the conversation, but I was curious why Lauren wasn't investing in something so profitable. To avoid embarrassing her in front of her colleagues, I decided to wait until we got home to ask her. Lauren understands financial planning and investment strategies far better than I do. I delegate all of our financial decisions to her. After the Christmas party, I asked her about mortgage-backed securities. Miss, and why weren't we investing in them, given how profitable they were? Lauren explained that Miss is a mortgage-backed security, but she was concerned that they were seeing market warning signs. She believed that these Miss OD could cause the entire US economy to collapse, whereas her colleagues were more concerned with short-term profits. Lauren warned that the housing market would crash if the bubble burst. Given that I was a project manager for a home builder in Jacksonville, I inquired about how this might affect my job. Lauren advised me to start looking for work in a different industry as she intended to do the same. Trusting Lauren's judgment and anticipating that Thompson and Associates would be in big trouble when the bubble burst, I decided not to wait and sent my resume to a headhunter for 9 months. I received no job offers after my agent, Bill Ferguson, mentioned that the job market was already showing signs of economic decline. In October 2000, Ferguson inquired about a job opportunity. He mentioned a possible opportunity in Asheville, North Carolina. I replied that I would need to discuss it with my wife and inquired about the job description. Ferguson explained that the position was with Standard Auto Services Corporation, which builds and franchises automobile service centers. They needed project managers to oversee construction, and while the starting salary was approximately to zero, less than my current salary, there was room for advancement. I asked about the amount of travel involved. Ferguson mentioned that the company was building centers in North Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia. Significant travel would be required. Are you concerned about the economic outlook? I inquired about the company's stability and viability during a recession. Ferguson stated that the company representative believed the service would be critical during a recession because people would need affordable places to service their vehicles if they were unable to purchase new ones. I informed Ferguson that I would discuss the offer with Lauren and get back to him the next morning. When I arrived home, Lauren was in the kitchen preparing fried chicken, a signature dish and my favorite meal. After cleaning the kitchen, I informed Lauren about the job offer from Standard Auto Services Corporation, expecting her to be hesitant about moving to Asheville, North Carolina. Instead, Lauren stated that Asheville was supposed to be a beautiful area and asked when I needed to start. I mentioned that the start date was the 1st of the month. She mentioned that it only gave us 3 weeks. Lauren would need time to give notice at TNA and inform her clients that she was leaving, which she estimated would take more than 3 weeks. I asked if she was okay with moving to Asheville, and she reiterated that the impending economic downturn would destroy TNA and most likely put me out of work. The job offer sounded appealing, but she wanted to research the company first. After 2 hours on her computer, Lauren concluded that Sassy had a solid business plan and advised me to accept the offer in October 2007. I relocated to Asheville in the last week of the month and found a 2-bedroom apartment, while Lauren remained in Jacksonville to sell our house and notify her clients that she was leaving TNA. She informed her clients that they could either continue with another TNA broker or switch to a different brokerage. Lauren also sent her resume to brokers in the Asheville area, and she was hired by one who had recently opened an office there. It took a month to sell our house, and despite having to lower the asking price by 50%, we still made a profit. When Lauren finally arrived in Asheville, I was working on 2 Sassy service centers in western North Carolina, which allowed me to spend every night at home. We spent the following 4 months exploring the area together. In spring 2008, we purchased a foreclosed house on Chandler Road, 11 north of Asheville and overlooking the French Broad River. It was the only house built in a planned subdivision before the builders declared bankruptcy. A spacious colonial with 4 bedrooms, 3 and 2 bathrooms, and a 2-car garage. We loved the house and thought it was ideal for raising a family, although it took some time to adjust to the quiet without any nearby neighbors. Lauren quickly adapted to her new job, expanding her client list and even reconnecting with some of her previous clients. In January, the 2 projects I was managing were completed and I took on 2 more in Tennessee, which required me to spend 3 or 4 nights away from home each week. It was difficult, but we intended to stick with this job until the housing market improved, allowing me to return to the home building industry. The one advantage of being away so much was having quality time. While I returned home after 4 years in SHC, I was doing well as the company grew. This meant more time away from home. Lauren never complained. As an investment advisor, we are focused on increasing our wealth with the goal of starting a family and retiring early in March 2012. After 3 weeks away, I returned home for a 4-day weekend and was greeted by a serious Lauren. She told me she had considered starting our family but felt our financial situation was not yet ideal. She had discovered a new investment opportunity that could possibly get us to where we needed to be in 2 years, allowing us to start a family and her to become a stay-at-home mom. Lauren explained that she met Ethan Cole, an investment advisor, at a seminar and had been talking about this idea with him for several weeks. She mentioned that Ethan, who had previous experience with such investments, was excited about the idea and believed it could more than triple our investment. She assured me that the risk was reasonable and that they would explain the specifics, including the required investment amount. When Ethan arrived later, I heard a car pull up the driveway and went outside to greet Cole, who arrived in a red 2010 Corvette. I couldn't help but feel envious, as I'd always wanted a Corvette but had to drive a Ford F-14 wheel drive for work. As we shook hands, I assessed Cole, and he probably did the same with me. He was about my height, 6'2", with shorter, darker brown hair and a mustache. He had a friendly smile and spoke with a slight accent that couldn't identify. When I asked where he was from, he said he grew up in Pennsylvania and spent 10 years in Cincinnati. We entered the house and Lauren emerged from the kitchen with a tray containing 2 beers, a glass of white wine and some snacks. She mentioned that since we'd already met, we could get started. Lauren then began explaining the plan, mentioning that she hadn't yet shared the details with me. Lauren described how, a month ago, she was working with a client who owned a drilling company that was fracking for natural gas in Oklahoma. He mentioned that one of his competitors was interested in starting fracking in North Carolina, where the legislature had recently approved the practice, with drilling set to begin the following year. This conversation sparked an idea, and Lauren explained that in order to explore, extract or sell mineral deposits, including natural gas, one must either own the mineral rights to the property or have a lease agreement with the rights holder. Lauren conducted some research and discovered that if we could obtain mineral rights from property owners before the drilling company did, they would be required to lease those rights from us in order to extract the gas. This could be an extremely profitable venture for us. After Lauren finished, Cole quickly added that when Lauren shared her idea, he did his own research and confirmed her accuracy. They could buy the rights to the gas beneath the land without having to buy the property, and he believed they could easily triple their investment if they moved quickly. I trusted Lauren's judgment, but I was skeptical of Cole and concerned about the risks. Cole explained that most landowners did not own the mineral rights to their land because those rights had been sold decades ago. He discovered through public records that a single family owned the majority of these rights in the area under consideration. Cole had already contacted the family's head, Daniel Owen, who expressed an interest in selling the rights at the right price. When the Owen family sold the land, they kept the mineral rights in case oil was discovered, but it was never found. It became clear that Lauren and Cole were committed to the plan. Whether or not I agreed, I am trusting Lauren. I agreed to comply with her suggestion. When I inquired about the cost, they informed me that we would invest $50,000 matched by Ethan, to purchase the mineral rights from the Owen family. Concerned about the substantial sum, I questioned their certainty, but Lauren insisted that the opportunity was too good to pass up, and Cole agreed. Lauren then mentioned the need to sign a partnership agreement and give her power of attorney to act on my behalf. While I was out of town, she handed me a stack of paperwork and I signed 7 different documents. When Cole left, Lauren, who was unusually eager, drew me into bed. Despite her initial reservations about being in front of the window, the thrills seemed to entice her. Lauren made love to me twice more that week, but by Monday morning, as I drove back to Tennessee, I was concerned about her involvement with Cole in the business transaction. My distrust of Cole, as well as the large financial commitment, contributed to my discomfort and concern during our passionate weekend. Lauren never said "I love you," as she had before. This made me wonder if their actions were motivated by love or a desire to meet her needs. 3 weeks later, when I returned home, Lauren greeted me with a distant kiss on the cheek and showed little interest in my situation. When I inquired about the business plan, she provided a brief and enthusiastic response. She seemed standoffish all weekend, and when I asked why, she said she was just tired and hinted that my frequent absences were not helping. For the first time since we were married, I was relieved to depart for Tennessee on Monday. Lauren's coldness persisted throughout our phone conversations, though she did eventually warm up slightly. However, she continued to deny there was anything wrong, which made me concerned about our marriage. I tried calling at various times, and while Lauren always answered, her demeanor did not alleviate my concerns. She seemed annoyed by my calls, though she never said so outright, believing that my absence was the problem. I made an extra effort to make her happy when I was home, but her attitude remained consistent over the months. In January 2013, as I prepared to return home for a long weekend, I called Lauren to inform her of my travel plans. This time she sounded unusually cheerful and warned me of icy roads due to recent snowfall. Her tone was more loving than it had been in months, giving me hope that whatever was bothering her had passed. When I got home, I noticed tire tracks in the snow leading to my side of the garage that were too large to be from Lauren's Honda. The tracks suggested that a car had been in the garage before the snowfall, which reminded me of Cole's Corvette. Lauren greeted me warmly in the kitchen, but I was suspicious and inquired whether she had been outside in the snow. She claimed she hadn't, but I hadn't mentioned the tracks by February. I was convinced Lauren was having an affair, most likely with Cole. To confirm my suspicions, I took an unexpected trip home a week early. I rented a car, parked it a quarter mile away, and walked into the house quietly. After checking the garage and finding nothing unusual, I went into the basement to wait for Lauren, determined to confront her if she returned with Cole. I could hear Cole's Corvette long before it arrived in the driveway, so I went to the kitchen door to eavesdrop on their conversation. As they entered, I was waiting for the right moment to interrupt, but when I heard what they were discussing, I was completely surprised. "I do not understand why you are so hard on yourself. This is not your fault. He made his decision and didn't care how much it hurt you." Cole said, "I understand, but is there another way to handle this?" Lauren asked you could file for divorce and alleged adultery, but it would take at least 6 months. That meant we couldn't get together until the divorce was finalized. If he discovers we're together, he may counter sue and you'll lose your advantage. After all of that, you would only receive half of everything, and we need everything for our plans. My way, we will get you everything you want, and after he separated you from your friends and job, don't you believe you deserve everything? Everything, Cole explained. I did not force Lauren to move anywhere. We both agreed that moving to Asheville was the best option for us. It was difficult for me to process what I was hearing. Lauren believes I cheated on her. Where did she get the idea? And she wants a divorce, so she can be with Cole. My stomach was nodding upwards. I was not concerned about the divorce. That was unavoidable once I discovered she was cheating. But if she believed I was unfaithful, why didn't she confront me? Clearly she did not care enough to find out the truth. But won't I be the primary suspect? Lauren said, "What exactly are they suspecting her of? What the hell are they planning?" My thoughts were racing with these questions spinning like a top. I had to force myself to concentrate on their conversation, which was difficult considering my state of shock. Who will even notice that he is missing? Nobody will look for Alex Thompson after I transfer him into him, and his body will never be found. After that, we'll sell our house and relocate to California. I can make myself look enough like Alex to obtain a California driver's license. Then we'll be in the clear. Cole said. I thought, oh my God. They're going to end me, and Cole wishes to take over my life. Why in hell would he want to be me? What is in it for him? So when will we do it? Lauren asked. We will do it after he's filed your taxes. We do not want any problems with the IRS, and by then he should have received his annual bonus. I will handle everything, Cole replied. All you have to do is keep him satisfied and clueless until we're ready. I was shocked. I thought Lauren loved me, but now she was on the other side of the door plotting to kill me. Alongside that jerk Cole. I was still on the basement stairs when I heard Lauren set the alarm, trapping me inside because disarming it would reveal my location. I went to the basement, sat in an old chair, and tried to process what I had heard. I had never cheated on Lauren. How could she believe I did? Was she really plotting with Cole to kill me? I realized I had no evidence to present to the police, and while stopping them was critical, I wanted to ensure they were punished for conspiring against me. Anger surged through me as I considered my options. Knowing I had to remain hidden until the morning, I forced myself to sleep in the chair. In the morning, after hearing both cars drive away, I went upstairs, discovered their breakfast leftovers, and made myself some eggs and toast dough. As I ate, I started planning. I was confident I could foil Lauren and Cole's plan, but I also wanted to make sure they didn't profit if things went wrong. I realized I had until April to act, but I wondered if convincing Laura I hadn't cheated would change her mind. I decided it didn't matter. Planning to kill me while sleeping with Cole was unforgivable. They both needed to pay within the next 2 weeks. I canceled my life insurance, changed my will to leave everything to the Salvation Army, and kept close track of our bank and investment accounts by the end of March. I had done everything possible to prepare, but I still lacked the evidence required to store them. I knew my next step was to get inside Cole's house on the first Thursday of April. I arrived from Memphis unannounced. At 5 p.m., I parked my truck near an abandoned station on Old Marshall Highway, a short distance from our home, even though it was a 15-minute drive from there. Could see the house and waited to see Mickey Y. Her Honda drove by at 5:116 p.m. and I looked for Cole's red Corvette, but a brand new cobalt blue Corvette passed 5 minutes later. I suspected Cole had purchased a new car and my suspicion grew. After seeing the blue Corvette pull into my garage through binoculars and waiting half an hour to ensure they didn't leave, I drove to Cole's house, which was located in a secluded wooded area. I parked nearby and approached the house, which did not seem to have a alarm system. I searched outside and discovered a hidden key above the back door inside. I began my search and Cole studied at his desk. I discovered a powered-on laptop and accessed it using a list of passwords hidden beneath the computer. Scanning through his emails, I found nothing incriminating. No correspondence with Lauren and nothing of business interest until I came across an email from a real estate agent in Deadwood, South Dakota, dated February 3rd. Dear Mr. Thompson, as your agent, I am pleased to inform you that Mr. McDaniel has accepted your $1.5 million offer for the Deadwood Saloon Hotel and Casino located on Main Street in Deadwood. I will send the signed contract via FedEx as soon as I receive it. We can schedule the closing with Mr. McReynolds' lawyers once they receive the due diligence check from you. Mr. McDaniel hopes to close the transaction in early May. I am looking forward to meeting you at the conclusion. Sincerely, Matthew Davis. I was stunned. Cole was purchasing a hotel and casino in Deadwood, South Dakota, under my name. Is he using the money we gave him for mineral rights to fund this? Was this part of his plan for stealing my identity? I printed the letter and continued my search. Although most emails were remarkable, I discovered a link to his bank account. There was no record of our $50,000 deposit, but there was a check made out to Thompson Enterprises LLC, which Lauren and Cole had set up in my name. I looked up LLC and discovered it stands for Limited Liability Company, which can protect personal assets from lawsuits. I was curious if they formed Thompson Enterprises LLC to purchase mineral rights or for something else. Was the Deadwood purchase linked to this LLC? The more I learned, the more questions arose about Cole's bookmarks. I discovered a link labeled Me, which led to the Thompson Enterprises website. The homepage featured a photo of Cole and Lauren, who were identified as Thomas and Michelle Thompson, president and treasurer of Thompson Enterprises LLC. Cole was already assuming my identity. According to the website, Thompson Enterprises is an investment firm that specializes in mergers and acquisitions. It appeared incomplete and an internet search produced no results indicating that the site had not yet been made public. I couldn't find anything else useful on Cole's computer, so I searched the desktop drawer. I found a loaded 9mm and left it in the next drawer. I discovered an open FedEx envelope containing the purchase contract for the Deadwood Saloon Casino and Hotel. The contract, worth $1.5 million, was signed by Thomas Thompson, but that was not my signature. It appeared Cole had forged it. I also discovered two notebooks, one blue and one green. The green notebook detailed Cole's plan over the last few years with an outline for a book. The plan, which included my murder, included Cole, Lauren, and myself. Cole had specifically looked for a married couple his age who had good jobs, no children, and were new to the area. He desired a wife who was attractive, assertive, and trusted by her husband, and who had to work long hours or travel extensively. He found Lauren on LinkedIn, thoroughly researched us, and decided we were the ideal candidates. He described Lauren as intelligent and attractive, confident that he could seduce her. Despite seeing me as a drone, he was a skilled manipulator. His plan started in 2011, when he pretended to be an investment analyst to meet Lauren at a broker's seminar. He discovered that Lauren valued compliments on her intelligence and style, not just her appearance. After 3 months, he persuaded her to have lunch with him, and they began eating together at least twice a week. Cole's next step was to send Lauren an anonymous note claiming that I was having an affair in Tennessee. This raised Lauren's suspicions, and Cole easily fueled her rage. He persuaded her to wait for proof before taking action. That proof came in the form of another anonymous note, which included photos of me with a blonde woman allegedly eating dinner and leaving my hotel room. The photos were obviously doctored, as I had never met that woman. When Lauren became angry enough to consider divorce, Cole seduced her. Their affair began more than a year ago. Cole told Lauren that he loved her and wanted to marry her after the divorce, but advised her to keep quiet about my alleged cheating. He persuaded her to start hiding money so that I wouldn't get any in the divorce. Cole capitalized on Lauren's resentment, reminding her how unjust I had been. By moving her to North Carolina, away from her friends and family, and then allegedly cheating on her, he made her so angry that she wanted to leave me penniless. Cole pointed out that in North Carolina's no-fault divorce, I would still receive half of everything. When Lauren finally expressed that it wasn't fair for me to get anything, Cole proposed a solution that would allow her to get everything. I am planning my move. After a few months, she began to agree and plot with him. The concept of purchasing mineral rights was a scam from the beginning, designed to deplete our savings and keep the money out of my reach. Lauren assured Cole that I knew nothing about finances and completely trusted her. She persuaded me that purchasing mineral rights was a wise investment, prompting me to sign the documents establishing the LLC and hand over all of our savings. I acted like a trusting fool. On page 46 of the notebook, Cole described the grave. He dug 20 mi north, complete with GPS coordinates. He intended to kill me with cyanide in my coffee, bury me and assume my identity as Alex Thompson. They would resign from my job, sell my home, and leave town. Lauren helped from Thompson Enterprises LLC, but he may not have been aware of Cold Edward's saloon purchase. The final page of the notebook contained the GPS coordinates of Lauren's grave in Colorado, which she may not appreciate. I couldn't go to the police with the notebook because I stole it. Cole could claim it was simply a book outline. Instead, I decided to confront them, allow Lauren to read the notebook, record the meeting, and then contact the police. I waited until Friday, hoping that Cole would stay with Lauren so that I could get the green notebook. After returning everything to its proper place and staying at a nearby motel, I used the GPS coordinates to locate my grave. Driving 15 mi north and following the farm path for about 5 ydf way down a wooded hillside that ended in a swampy area, I discovered a grave site. A dirt pile on plywood topped with a trap and a hole 6 ft long and 4 ft deep. Was this going to be my final resting place? At 5:15 p.m., I parked near the ESO station and noticed Lauren riding by. I waited until almost 6 p.m. to see if Cole would drive by, then went to his house. The blue Corvette was in the driveway. At 6:30 p.m., Cole left and I followed him to the station before watching him return to my driveway and enter the garage. After Cole's garage door closed, I went to his house, checked his email, and took the notebook and the Deadwood Saloon Hotel and Casino purchase agreement. I also removed the Colt from his drawer for safety. I returned home around 8 p.m., parked outside, and entered through the garage. The Colt was hidden in my belt. I could hear music and voices coming from the living room. When I peeked in, I saw Lauren and Cole naked on the sofa. Lauren had seeds leaking from her, and they were drinking wine, while the music played. They did not hear me. I was so enraged that I considered shooting them both. Before the confrontation even began, I went back into the kitchen and set my phone to record audio. I took a deep breath and exhaled slowly before entering the room. I guess you didn't expect me this weekend. I spoke loud enough to be heard over the music. Cole spun around so quickly that he fell off the sofa while Lauren screamed and dropped her wine glass. The situation was almost humorous. Cole sat on the floor looking up at me as Lauren scrambled to cover herself and spilled wine which mixed with her bodily fluids. On the leather sofa, I suggested that you both get dressed and then we could talk. Nikki appeared unfazed as she walked upstairs to our bedroom. Cole picked up his clothes and started dressing right there. Once Cole was dressed, I suggested we sit down and wait for Lauren to return. Cole suggested that we don't overreact to this. Are you kidding? You're sleeping with my wife and I'm supposed to ignore it. This is a big deal for me. I said. Cole raised his hands as a sign of understanding. We waited in silence until Lauren arrived downstairs in his bathrobe. She looked at me and then at Cole. I noticed a faint smirk on Cole's face when he said I could use a cup of coffee. How about you, Lauren? Why not make a pot? Lauren appeared calm when she entered the room, but her expression turned worried when Cole asked her to make coffee. I deduced from her reaction that Cole had directed her to poison my drink. Cole appeared to be ready to take me out from where I was sitting. I could see Lauren in the kitchen making coffee and filling the machine with water. After she disappeared, I assumed she was preparing to make what she thought would be my final cup of coffee. As she did not return to the living room, the silence became more uncomfortable. So how long have you two had an affair? I asked. Cole smiled and replied, we've been in love for just over a year now. We sat in silence for about 10 minutes until the coffee maker made its familiar hissing sound indicating that the coffee was ready. After another 5 minutes, Cole said, if you're free, bring the coffee in a minute. Lauren answered. A few minutes later Lauren appeared with the cups, placing them on a tray. Before setting the tray on the coffee table, she handed me my cup first and then gave Cole his. When she finally sat down, she looked at me with a sorrowful expression. I hope that meant she felt guilty about what she was doing. Cole took a sip of his coffee and smiled at Lauren. I picked up my cup, held it for a moment and then set it back down. It's too hot, I said, placing the cup back on the table. So Lauren, why did you let yourself be drawn to this piece of trash? Cole smirked again as he sipped his coffee and said to Lauren, you might as well tell him it doesn't matter now. You were never around and Ethan was. Lauren said it convinced me I'd be better off with him than with you. Her answer seemed odd to me. She didn't accuse me of infidelity, which I expected would be her go-to excuse. Cole also seemed unsettled by her response. Looking displeased, I picked up my cup once more and said that's a pretty weak excuse for having an affair. Cole glanced at Lauren and said it's more complicated than you think. This isn't just an affair. Lauren will be my wife once the divorce is finalized. I pretended to take a sip from my cup while watching Lauren's reaction, as she was focused on Cole, who was eyeing me, clearly waiting for me to drink from the poison cup. When I set the cup back down, Cole's frustration was evident. I decided it was time to end the pretense. Lauren, could you please fetch the notebook I left on the kitchen table? I asked. As Lauren stood up, I discreetly drew the coat from under my jacket, keeping it hidden behind my right thigh. What notebook? Cole asked, looking puzzled. While you were busy with my wife last night, I visited your place. I found a rather interesting notebook in your desk. I said, the green one with your plans for Lauren and me. When Lauren returned with the notebook, Cole snatched it from her and said, it's just some silly notes I made for fun. Did you let Lauren read it? I think she should, I replied. Lauren remained silent, just sitting there and staring at Cole. Lauren doesn't need to see that, Cole said, trying to downplay the situation. Well, The police will be very interested in it when they arrive, especially once they discover the cyanide in the coffee Lauren made for me. You two are going to be in serious trouble, I warned. Cole stood up and moved toward me, but stopped when he saw the Colt in my hand. Sit back down, I ordered. Cole picked up his coffee cup, looking as if he might throw it at me. I stood up and aimed it at his head, saying, sit down and be quiet. Cole complied and sat back down, as did I. Lauren and Cole both seemed to be waiting for me to speak. Cole tried to maintain his composure as he sipped his coffee, but Lauren looked extremely anxious. Finally, Lauren spoke up. Alex, I'm really sorry for everything that's happened. You don't have to worry. I didn't put anything in your coffee. Cole shot Mickey an angry look and demanded, what did you do? I found the notebook in the kitchen while making the coffee and read it. Everything you told me was a lie. I was ready to end Alex because I believed your deceit. And now I discover that you planned to end me. I was so foolish. But I'm not anymore. I put the poison in your coffee. You jerk, Cole! Shouted damn you and lunged at Lauren. She moved away, causing him to crash to the floor. As he tried to get up, his breathing became labored and his lips started turning blue. He collapsed again, convulsing and foaming at the mouth. Within minutes he was dead. Lauren sat on the sofa, tears streaming down her face, as she looked at Cole's lifeless body with tears still flowing. Lauren looked at me and said, I'm sorry. Alex, you should call the police now when they arrive. I'll confess that I put the poison in his coffee. I held the phone ready to dial, but as I considered what to tell the police, I realized this situation might have serious consequences for me as well. Looking at Cole's body on the floor made me feel nauseous, so I walked to the kitchen and sat at the table. Lauren followed and took a seat across from me. She buried her face in her hands and said, I can't believe I ruined my life like this. I let that bastard destroy everything. I'm so sorry. I deserve whatever happens to me now. When I didn't reply, Lauren asked, aren't you going to Cole? Could you get me a beer while I figure this out? I replied, Cole isn't going anywhere, so why should we rush? I sat quietly for 10 or 15 minutes before taking a sip of the beer and finishing it before speaking again. How would you like to avoid jail time? I asked. Lauren responded, how could I? Killed him, and you saw me do it, plus you have that notebook with his plan to offer you with my help. I also recorded our conversation. How many people know about you and Cole? Nobody knows except for you. We made sure no one saw us together in public, and I never mentioned the affair to anyone. Lauren replied, why did you ask if I wanted to avoid going to jail? If you want to stay out of prison, we need to deal with the problem in the other room. I said, pointing toward the next room. Deal with him. How do we do that? Lauren asked, since he kindly left us. An empty grave will follow his plan. But with a change, a second, the grave will be for him instead of me. Lauren's face went ashen as she looked at me. You want to bury him? No, we will bury him. I need you to empty his pockets. Give me his car keys, wallet, and anything else he's carrying. Can't you do that? He was your lover and you killed him, so it's your job. Lauren went into the living room, took Cole's wallet from his back pocket and then rolled him onto his back to search his front pockets. After she was done, she handed me Cole's wallet and key. While you get dressed, I'm going to drive my truck into the garage. I said I had to back Cole's Corvette out of the garage before parking my truck while in the vet. I briefly fantasized about owning it but quickly dismissed it as a problem to address later. Once the vet was outside, I parked my truck as close to the kitchen door as possible. Inside, Lauren, dressed in jeans and a sweatshirt, was waiting in the kitchen. We dragged the body to the garage, loaded it into my truck bed and covered it with a tarp. I instructed Lauren to get in the truck while I checked for a shovel and a hand truck in the back. The first 10 minutes of the drive were silent until I asked Lauren why she had betrayed me. She explained that Ethan had convinced her I was cheating and claimed he was in love with her. He persuaded her that leaving me was necessary for their future together. When I asked why she chose to end me instead of just divorcing me, Lauren revealed it was for the money. Ethan promised that removing me would allow them to build Thompson Enterprises and make millions. She admitted she was manipulated by her anger and guilt and knew forgiveness would be difficult, if not impossible, for both of us. I didn't respond to Lauren's explanation. Instead, I asked why Cole was planning to take over my identity. Lauren said Cole intended to ensure no one would come looking for me by making it seem like we had quit our jobs, sold the house and moved to California. When I inquired about the new Corvette, Lauren revealed that Cole had bought it a few days ago. I expressed concern that the car might be a problem and suggested selling it to avoid attracting attention. Lauren then laughed and said the car wasn't a problem at all. It was actually leased by Thompson Enterprises for the president. Since the car was registered to Thomas Thompson and I was Thomas Thompson, the issue was resolved. Excited at the thought of owning the car, I quickly refocused on our situation and asked about Thompson Enterprises. Lauren explained that the company was set up to buy troubled firms, break them up and sell off their assets, starting with small companies and expanding as profits grew. I compared the plan to a smash-and-grab operation where a gang raids a store for valuables. Lauren didn't like the comparison but accepted the description. I then asked her what she knew about the Deadwood Saloon Hotel and Casino. She was unfamiliar with it. I handed her the purchase contract and the email from the real estate agent. After reading them under the overhead light, Lauren concluded that Thompson Enterprises would need to proceed with the purchase unless we could find a way to cancel the contract. Lauren confirmed that Cole had never discussed the plan with her. We drove in silence to the grave site with only a sliver of moonlight. I used a battery-powered work light to illuminate the area. I removed the plywood covering the hole and leaned it against the truck. We slid Cole's body onto my hand truck and rolled it to the hole, tilting the hand truck. I let Cole's body fall into the grave, landing face up with a smirk that I noted with a muted remark. Disturbed by the sight, I moved on to cover the body. I shoveled dirt from the plywood into the hole and, with Lauren's help, filled the rest of the grave. We then loaded the tarp plywood and hand truck back into my truck and covered the grave with dead branches. The entire process took less than 20 minutes. We returned home in silence. I parked my truck outside and put the Corvette in the garage. Lauren went inside and handed me a beer. When I entered the kitchen, I told her that life would continue as usual, with me heading back to Memphis on Sunday and her returning to work on Monday. I made it clear that our relationship was over and instructed her to find a lawyer and file for divorce. While I was in Memphis, I added that she needed to handle the dismantling of Thompson Enterprises and that we would discuss things further the next day. I would be staying in the guest room the next morning. Lauren had already made coffee. She reassured me that she hadn't added anything to it and joined me at the table. Lauren said we couldn't dismantle Thompson Enterprises yet because of a clause in the purchase contract for the Deadwood Saloon Hotel in Chino. We needed to pay a $15,000 advance for due diligence before April 10th, which we wouldn't get back if we backed out. If we refused to pay, we'd face a lawsuit and end up paying the $150K plus court costs. Lauren suggested we should investigate the casino and keep the Corvette, which is leased by Thompson Enterprises. After breakfast, I planned to move the plywood and tarp from the grave site to Cole's garage to avoid any connection to our house. Lauren would search Cole's house for anything linking us to him. At Cole's house, Mickey White checked the bedroom and clothes. While I packed up the study, I shut down the computer, gathered papers and found several keys, putting everything into a box. I almost tossed the blue notebook into the box without checking it, but then realized I hadn't read it. The blue notebook detailed a plan from 2 years prior involving a young woman named Sophia. Cole had conned her in North Carolina land. Instead of leading town as planned, he stole a car, forced Sophia's car off a cliff and fled with her money. I handed Lauren the blue notebook and suggested she read it, hoping it would make her feel better about her actions. After reading it, Lauren cried, lamenting her failure to recognize Cole's true nature. Once she calmed down, I asked if she found anything. During her search, Lauren found only a few restaurant receipts which she discarded. She mentioned needing to return on Monday to put out Cole's trash can and asked if there was anything else to check. I said no, as I had already searched the whole closet and kitchen. We'd review the contents of the desk box at home. Back home, Lauren and I sorted through the papers, discarding anything unimportant. We found the closing statement for Cole's house, which was owned by another LLC called Nasco. I discovered files related to Nasco hidden on Cole's laptop and gave it to Lauren to examine. While Lauren studied the Nasco files, I found a receipt for a safety deposit box rental at Asheville Savings and Loan in the name of Thomas Thompson. I wondered if one of the 5 keys from Cole's desk was for that box. The keys seemed promising, one for a safety deposit box and another for a post office box. Lauren noted that Nasco had significant assets, including €54 remaining after Ethan's $50,000 investment in Tesco's properties in a house in the Cayman Islands. She planned to check if the key opened the Asheville PO box the next day but was unsure how to handle the safety deposit box. I speculated that one of the other keys might be for the Cayman Islands house or a bank account there. We spent the day discussing Thompson Enterprises and the Deadwood Saloon Hotel and Casino. We agreed to pay the $15,000 due diligence by April and visit Deadwood in May to find a reason to back out of the purchase if needed. Until then, I would return to Memphis for work while Lauren resumed her job before leaving on Sunday. I asked Lauren if I could trust her now that Cole was gone. She assured me we were in this together and would need each other to succeed. I told her I'd see her in 2 weeks. During my 2 weeks in Memphis, I completed my projects and took a week off. When I got home, Lauren updated me on her activities. She had been checking the CO PO box daily, finding only junk mail and a Visa bill, which she paid using Cole's password to access Tesco's bank accounts. I planned a trip to the Cayman Islands to check out Enzo's house. Lauren wanted to join but couldn't get time off. On short notice, I arrived in Grand Cayman on Sunday at 2 p.m. Took a cab to the 2-bedroom bungalow with a Caribbean view and found it furnished but dusty and musty. I emailed Lauren about the house and she suggested hiring a cleaning service to maintain it monthly funded by Nasco. We planned to use it as a vacation home and potentially rent it out. I enjoyed the weather and beach until Thursday before returning home when I got home. Lauren proposed merging Nasco with Thompson Enterprises. This would allow us to sell Ethan's house and keep the Cayman house. To do this, I'd need to impersonate David Cole to get a lawyer to give Lauren power of attorney for the merger. Lauren suggested growing a mustache and having her style my hair to resemble Cole's photos. She had a lawyer lined up who wouldn't be suspicious. Lauren planned to create a merger agreement and a buyout agreement for Cole's share of Nasco. We would pay Cole's share into an offshore Cayman account and later withdraw the money. Lauren also instructed me to open the safety deposit box at Asheville Savings and Loan. It took me 2 weeks to grow a suitable mustache. Lauren styled my hair and we successfully fooled the lawyer. While Lauren worked on the merger, I went to Ash to access the safety deposit box. Inside I found a 0 in cash, a passport with Cole's picture but in my name, and a passbook showing over $1 million in a Grand Cayman bank account. I took a few deep breaths, then collected the items, including several papers, the card with phone numbers and passwords, and put everything in my briefcase. When I got home, I showed Lauren what I took from the safety deposit box. She took 1.0 for herself and gave me 1.0. Lauren used the passwords from the card to access Cole's Grand Cayman bank account. Since the account was numbered and unregistered, we could control the funds. Lauren changed the account password and suggested we leave the money there for future use. With Cole out of the picture, we focused on Thompson Enterprises and the Deadwood Saloon Hotel and Casino. We planned to visit the property to evaluate if we could exit the purchase deal. If not, we'd need to learn how to run a hotel and casino. On December 19, 2013, I reflected on the past year while having a drink. 10 months earlier, Lauren and her lover, Ethan Cole, had plotted to off me. After confronting them, Cole died, Now I was president and CEO of Thompson Enterprises, with Lauren as CFO. In May, we inspected the Deadwood Saloon Hotel and Casino, found no grounds to avoid the contract and proceeded with the purchase. I moved to Deadwood to manage renovations, while Lauren managed finances and continued her brokerage work in North Carolina. Over the past few months, Lauren and I renovated the Deadwood Hotel and Casino, now renamed Thompson's 1870 Saloon, for its grand reopening on December 21st. I admired the completed renovation. As I headed to my truck while reaching for the truck door, a voice asked if I was Alex Thompson. Before I could react, 3 men assaulted me to restrain my arms with zip ties, while the third covered my head with a bag. They forced me against a wall and one punched me to silence me. A car approached and I was pushed into the back seat and forced down to the floor. I feared the worst. Was this about the Deadwood property or a betrayal by Lauren? After about half an hour, the car stopped, entered the garage, and I was dragged into a house. They led me down a hallway and into a room where they shoved me into a chair and told me to stay quiet. With the bag over my head, I could only see the floor. One abductor announced we got him, followed by a G-Rally voice asking if I gave any trouble, to which another voice responded with laughter. No trouble. The G-Rally voice then ordered, "Go get CJ." I had no idea who CJ was or what was happening. I immediately recognized it was a woman approaching by the clacking of her heels on the hardwood floor and the intoxicating scent of her perfume. As she neared, I could see her stylish shoes and delicate ankles. Despite my dire situation, these details caught my attention without warning. She struck me hard on the left side of my jaw, leaving me dazed. I braced for another blow, but instead she removed the bag from my head. It took a moment to focus, but I saw a woman with big, dark brown eyes, a pretty face and long, almost black hair scars on her forehead, and chin did not detract from her beauty. After a brief stare, she turned and shouted, "That's not him. You brought me the wrong man." Confusion settled in as one of the abductors insisted I was Alex Thompson, the person they were supposed to grab, CJ. The woman was angry and demanded to know who I was. I introduced myself as Alex Thompson, which only seemed to frustrate her more. She asked if I knew Howard Mason, and I replied I had never heard of him. CJ then turned to the middle-aged man with the G-Rally voice and complained about the mistakes of her team. Jimmy, another abductor, pointed out that I had claimed to be Alex Thompson and questioned whether the picture was of me or not. CJ's to see the picture and held it up in front of me. The image was of David Cole standing next to the cobalt blue 2013 Corvette, the same car parked in my garage. I could think of no lie to extricate myself from this situation, so I told the truth. I admitted knowing Cole as a scam artist who tried to steal my identity. When CJ asked where Cole was, I requested she cut the zip ties cutting into my wrists. In exchange for the information, CJ ordered Jimmy to cut me loose once my hands were free. I told CJ that the last time I saw Cole, he was in North Carolina and had just bought the car in the picture. Noticing CJ's anger, I asked how much he had taken from her. CJ sat down in front of me and revealed that Cole, under the name Howard Mason, had stolen over $500,000 million from her inheritance. She explained that she had met him 5 years ago when he promised to use her money to buy land in North Carolina and later sell it for a profit afterwards. Kept her in the hospital. She found herself unable to locate him and had been searching ever since. I mentioned that Cole's actions against CJ were detailed in a blue notebook I had. When I asked if the C in CJ stood for Sophia, she was surprised. I offered to show her the information at my house in Deadwood, suggesting it would help her understand the situation better. CJ was worried but agreed to come, bringing Jimmy and his friends along on the drive back to Deadwood. I sat between Jimmy and Dan while CJ drove. Upon arriving home, I warned Jimmy about a Colt in my safe and asked him to wait. As I handled it myself, I opened the safe, handed it to Jimmy and retrieved the notebooks. I then brought them into the living room, suggesting Jimmy and Dan wait in the kitchen to keep things discreet. I offered CJ a drink and she opted for bourbon on the rocks. humorously noting this wasn't today. I explained how CJ had traced me through a Corvette lease, confirming my identity with the hotel in Deadwood. I shared how Lauren and I ended up in Asheville, discovered her affair with Cole and their plot to end me. I showed CJ the green notebook detailing Cole's plan to steal my identity later and Lauren. CJ asked about the outcome and I handed her the blue notebook suggesting she read it alone. When I returned to the room, CJ was in tears realizing Cole had deliberately tried to enter. She gave the car keys to Jimmy and asked him and Dan to return to the house. While she and I discussed things privately, Jimmy handed her my Colt before leaving. After being alone, CJ asked if I was a threat and I reassured her I wasn't. She explained her scars were from a 2010 accident where she fell off a cliff, leading to severe injuries and memory loss. I shared that Lauren had used cyanide to off Cole, avoiding police involved them to prevent financial complications for Thompson Enterprises. Lauren and I were now divorced but continued as business partners, with her handling finances and me managing operations. CJ, who introduced herself as Claire Davis, a CPA from Mary, Pennsylvania, and his father rented the house where I was held, asked to stay the night and borrow a t-shirt. I agreed. The next morning I confirmed CJ's story with Lauren and offered to drive CJ back after she packed. CJ recognized the Corvette from the photo with Howard and was surprised it was now mine, explaining it was registered in my name, since Howard had used my identity. CJ said the house was in Sturgis. I invited her for lunch in Deadwood, promising to discuss something important. Afterwards she met me at PT at one ILS Irish pub and then joined me at my office, where I showed her a spreadsheet of the Deadwood Hotel and Casino's finances. I explained the spreadsheets. One detailed the $1.5 million purchase price for the hotel, including payments, loans and costs. CJ, a CPA, was frustrated but understood. The other spreadsheet covered Thompson Enterprises startup fund, showing $50,000 each from Lauren and Cole, plus $89,000 from merging with NASCO LLC, including Cole's house sold for $49,000. I explained that the $1.5 million likely included the $50,000 Cole took from CJ Shock. CJ considered the options of $50,000 annuity, providing to $0 monthly for 20 years, or joining us as an equal partner and CFO of Thompson Enterprises with a salary, benefits and bonuses. CJ worried about her teaching job. I suggested she could work remotely or full-time, which I preferred. Lauren would be vice president, focusing on investments. CJ was given 2 weeks to decide. She stayed for the grand opening of the Deadwood Hotel and Casino and Thompson's 1870 saloon, enjoying the slots while her father played blackjack by Friday with no call from CJ. I worried she might choose the annuity and stay in EIE on Saturday. CJ arrived unannounced, ready to start as my new partner. She moved into my spare bedroom and later found an apartment near the hotel, expressing my reluctance for her to leave. I admitted I enjoyed her hugs. CJ suggested a more intimate gesture, leading to a passionate kiss and taking us to the bedroom. Our kissing grew more intense as we undressed each other. "Are you sure this is what you want?" I asked for the next several minutes. We talked about what we had just done and then, "CJ," I said, "if we are going to have any kind of a relationship, you will have to promise me that you will not date or have closeness with other women. I can commit to that if you agree to do the same," I said, after our first night together. CJ didn't move out but also didn't officially move in. She left her belongings in the spare bedroom, yet spent every night with me. 2 months later, Nikki visited Deadwood to meet CJ. They quickly wanted each other, sharing a laugh over their history with 2 men, one good and one bad. After Lauren and CJ went to lunch, they returned in high spirits. Lauren updated me on her new boyfriend, Drive Jimmy Hogan from Asheville, and suggested discussing Thompson Enterprises with CJ. The next morning, a visitor arrived at the hotel, a private detective named Leander Mossman from New Orleans. He was looking for Larry Taylor, who had stolen $70,000 from clients and promised to invest in a Deadwood casino. Mossman showed a photo of a younger Cole which CJ and the law didn't recognize. Mossman wanted to know if Taylor was involved with the casino, hotel, and saloon now owned by Thompson Enterprises. CJ confirmed that she, Lauren, I owned the businesses. Mossman left, acknowledging the case as a dead end. I advised CJ and Lauren to keep the visit confidential and refocus on our work. CJ questioned if Mossman suspected them of lying, but I suggested we move on. The Deadwood properties exceeded expectations. With the hotel at nearly 80 occupancy and the casino busy daily, I proposed a vacation to the Cayman Islands in October, which CJ gladly accepted. On Grand Cayman, I proposed to CJ and she accepted enthusiastically. We married at Deadwood Town Hall with a reception at Thompson 1870. Mickey Y and her boyfriend were there, and they later married in Las Vegas, where CJ and I were witnesses. By June 2016, CJ and I had a 1-year-old daughter and another on the way. Greg Hadley, our head of security, reported to men acting suspiciously at the casino, taking pictures and then entering the saloon. The men John Benson and Bill Martin presented a $4 million offer for the hotel, casino, and saloon. I noted the property's high revenue and said a higher offer would be required. They promised to return with a revised offer, but refused to reveal their clients. Greg recorded the conversation, which I reviewed, with CJ and Lauren. The team discussed the legitimacy of the offer from Benson and Martin. Lauren outed they bellied the property's revenue, but suggested countering any offer they made. CJ considered accepting a higher offer if it came in, suggesting $5 million might be worth it. When Benson and Martin returned with a $5 million offer, it was countered with $6 million. They accepted without hesitation and did not request financials, raising suspicions about their true intentions. After closing the deal, CJ, Brittany, and I moved to Asheville, North Carolina, where we settled in with our furniture and Corvette. Relations with Lauren improved and we expanded Thompson Enterprises with new franchises. Our second child, Thomas Matfield Jr., was born in October and Lauren announced her pregnancy in April. After Lauren's daughter, Ashley, was born, IRS agent James Seymour called about a potential audit of Thompson Enterprises' origins. I hosted Seymour at our home, introduced him to CJ and Lauren, and he inquired about the Deadwood Hotel and Casino sale to the Treadway Syndicate. We only dealt with agents and suspected the $6 million price might involve money laundering. Seymour confirmed the Treadway indicates pattern of overpaying for properties but found no direct connection to us. Later, during a cookout with Lauren, Jimmy, and Ashley, I took a phone call about suspicious activity at the Deadwood Hotel. Greg Hadley, the head of security, reported pills trafficking. Local and state police, joined by the FBI and IS, raided the hotel, finding hard pills and revealing the casino was used for pills laundering. The Deadwood police and state police had seized the property under South Dakota's asset forfeiture law and were offering it to us for $2 million. CJ reacted with shock and Lauren asked how soon the decision was needed. We had a couple of weeks, but delaying could increase the price due to federal interest. CJ noted the publicity might make the hotel famous, increasing room rates and visitors. We agreed to proceed, but would need to find reliable managers for the property to avoid living there full time. Lauren and CJ were both in favor of the purchase by March 2020. Business at the repurchased Deadwood Hotel and Casino was thriving, with gross revenues over $15 million annually. Other ventures were also successful, despite the looming threat of the COVID-19 pandemic, which would likely impact Thompson Enterprises. We had sufficient funds in the Grand Cayman Bank to endure the financial strain and planned to keep our employees on as possible. Reflecting on the past 7 years, I was astonished by how my fortunes changed. Starting with a sociopathic con man who sought wealth through deceit and ended up buried by his own actions. Now as president and CEO of the company he founded, I inherited his Corvette, took over NASCO access to his Cayman Islands account and acquired the hotel and casino he coveted. Most importantly, without his interference, I would never have met CJ. In the end, the con man's greed led to his downfall, while it led me to a successful fulfilling life with a wonderful family. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode of the story, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to get notifications for updates.